The popularity of poker expanded rapidly during the mid-2000s. Most people point to Chris Moneymaker, the 2003 world champion of poker, and say that he deserves most of the credit for this poker boom. And he deserves some. He proved that amateurs can beat the pros and become rich playing the game. But I don't think it's the end of the story. I don't even think it's the most important piece of the story. Others will point to televised final tables of tournaments as well as televised high-stakes cash games. And again, these are important, but I don't think the key reason. I think the key reason poker boomed in the mid-2000s is actually just a fundamental difference between online poker and live poker. Online poker is just much more favorable as a way to make a living playing poker. And I don't mean to say that live poker is bad or should be ruled out as an option. We'll actually discuss later in this video some of the strengths of live poker, but let's take a look at the fundamental differences between the two formats. First, how many tables can you play? Live, you play 1. Online, you can play 2, 6, 24. And nowadays, you can actually play as many tables as you can handle. And 2 is actually very reasonable. Someone who can play 1 table live can easily play 2 online and probably could play 6. So that's why we have these 2 benchmarks along with the 24. Now let's talk about how many hands per hour you play. Well, live, you might expect quite optimistically to play 30 hands per hour. Online, quite conservatively, you can play 60 hands per hour. And that's constant across, of course, any quantity of tables. So what's our effective hand per hour? And this is where it gets interesting. Live, it's 1 table, 30 hands per hour at that table. So your effective hands per hour is the same. But online, we multiply hands per hour by the tables we're seated at. So with 2 tables, you're getting 120 hands in per hour. At 6, 360. And if you have that special talent to multi-table with 24 tables, you can get 1,440 hands in. So what does this mean for our hourly rate, our wage playing poker? Well, let's say we're playing 1-2. $1, $2 no limit. And we earn a standard winning rate for a good player, 3 big blinds per 100 hands. If we had that win rate at our live table, we'd be making a measly $1.80 per hour. Put that same win rate in our online examples, we'd make $7.20 2 tabling, $21.60 6 tabling. It's starting to look pretty good as a career option. And if you have that special talent to massive multi-table, you can make 86, 40, and upwards per hour. And of course, it's not totally realistic that our win rate would stay consistent as you add more and more tables, but we'll keep it flat for the sake of the example. So you might say, well, it's not entirely true. In a live game, the players are fishier. They're not as good. There's tourists playing the game, things like that. So instead of 3 big blinds per 100, I think we can win 9. So our profit will actually be 3 times as high. So instead of 180, it would be 540. It's still not approaching, though, even playing just 2 tables online, which is very, very easy to do, a very reasonable goal. So you might say then, well, why don't we just raise our stakes? If we're only making 1/4 of the profit playing live, let's just make the stakes 4 times higher. Instead of 1-2 no limit, let's play 4-8. Well, 4-8's not that popular a game, so you have to play 5-10. So we play 5-10 no limit. And you're correct for this to be your conclusion, because actually this is what happens if you consider live and online poker the choices that players make as a marketplace. The same players that play 1-2 online actually play at 5-10 no limit. So the skill level is roughly equivalent between 5-2 no limit live and 1-2 no limit online. And let's be really optimistic. Let's say your win rate at 5-10 is still 3 times as big as your online win rate. Let's say it's 9 big blinds per 100. So we're going to make, in the rosiest scenario, $5.40 times 5. $27 per hour if we play 5-10 no limit live, and of course we're single tabling. So against our online benchmarks, maybe that's about 8 to 10 tables. While the expected value, the expected hourly rate, would then be comparable, you have to remember that variance is higher. We're at 5 times the stakes. Instead of 1-2, we're playing 5-10. And our hand rate per hour is 1/2. So I would say that playing live 5-10 versus online 1-2 is about 10 times riskier. 5x for the stakes and 2x for the sample size. So when should you even play live? Well, it's actually quite simple. If you have a relatively large bankroll and you enjoy the live experience, and maybe you're just bad at multi-tabling, then live's the right option. If you're just starting out, you have a smaller bankroll, and you get bored at the table, then multi-tabling will be a perfect fit for you. You're going to have a lot more playable hands when you're 2, 4, and 6 tabling. And your profits will be steady. They'll be modest, but steady. Your swings in your bankroll will be much less severe